Hello, stationery friends. It's obviously not 4 a.m. The sun is shining. I've got the essentials behind me this Christmas season, the Christmas tree, and the coffee machine behind me here as well. It's been a while since I have recorded. I have been busy, and I guess this has been somewhat unintentional, but intentional in taking a break from stationery at 4. Every December I get pretty reflective about the year behind me. I think generally people tend to do this as the year wraps up. And I suppose, if you look at it from the perspective of time, nothing really changes when you flip from one year to the next overnight from the perspective of it's just another day. And at the same time, there's a tremendous amount of connotation and significance that's attributed to that New Year's transition and the ability to reflect on things that you're going to let go of, do less of, and things that you want to do more of. Anyhow, I suppose I'm getting a little bit deep and philosophical here. The point is, I think for me, the last month or two have just been absolutely grueling. It's been a slog, both personally and professionally. And so taking a little bit of a reprieve from Stationery 4 was necessary in that way. Although I have been keeping up with doing the Inkvent 2024, which I have been really enjoying, and I want to talk about that today. But when I reflect in heading into the holiday season here, it occurs to me to look at what I've accomplished this year. And yes, there is a list of things that I have accomplished, and I'm sure you have as well, and a lot of things that you've also gone through in terms of trials and tribulations, and I certainly have in my way. And it's all perspective, of course. What I'm going through is probably significantly irrelevant compared to somebody else who's in a very different situation. So I suppose what I'm saying is we're all going through stuff all the time. There's different things to life that happen. Curveballs get thrown your way, and it's all about how, I suppose, one tries to meander through it. Again, I feel like I'm getting deep and philosophical. For me, one of my biggest accomplishments, it would seem, is just surviving 2024. And that, I suppose, summarizes a lot of what I've been through this year. But again, perspective. I don't know where I'm going with this, other than to say, I suppose if you're sitting there and reflecting and wondering what your accomplishments are, and sometimes it's just nice and easy to say that I survived. And 2024, for me and those around me, seemed fairly challenging in a lot of ways for all the different reasons. Aside from all of that, though, when it comes to stationery, I have, I guess, done a few things, changed a few things, acquired a few things, and I want to talk about that today in this From the Desk video. Particularly as I head into the holiday season, I want to look at some of the things that I acquired in terms of pen acquisitions, stationery acquisitions, the Inkvent 2024 calendar that I'm working through right now, and then also some of the videos that are going to be coming up. There's a whole plethora of things that I've got planned, and so I want to share some of that. It's probably one of the longest introductions I've done to a From the Desk video or any video on my channel. So a bit of a recap when it comes to the 2024 stationery setup, acquisitions, and changes that I've been working throughout the year. I've talked quite a bit, I think, on this channel about how I started this stationery journey, and that it is very much that, a journey with respect to trying to figure out what analog tools work for me, what I'm implementing in terms of an analog system, and how I'm just navigating through that. Part of that, I suppose, has been getting some really great commentary from you folks out there and just seeing how that massages things as I work through it. When I look back at 2024, one of the first things that come to mind in terms of stationery changes in my toolkit is very much around the writing instruments, and there are a few pens that I acquired this year, which I'm very happy about. I have acquired 2 custom pens from Pilot. I have changed out the Lamy 2000 nib that I actually technically acquired in December 2023, and heading into January 2024 was somewhat disappointed with the medium nib that I had on that Lamy 2000. I tried to sell it, and I was pretty close, but then last moment things just kind of from the person who was acquiring it, and then I ended up having the pen again. And so it just took the opportunity to figure out if a fine nib on the Lamy 2000 would work for me, and lo and behold, it did, and it's become one of my favorite pens. The other couple of pens that I have acquired here is the Benu Tiger's Eye Talisman. Benu Talisman Tiger's Eye. Gorgeous pen. I absolutely love this pen and I just can't get enough of it. It's one of my daily drivers here, and I love to look at this pen more than anything else, I think. It's just one of those things where, the aesthetic draws me in so much and it entices me to use the pen so much more. So I've been really enjoying that. My wife stole my TWSBI Indigo Bronze at the start of the year. I had it in a broad nib and she really needed another pen. Stole's maybe a strong word. She borrowed it and never gave it back. So I don't know if that's the same thing. She really likes the pen. I love the aesthetic of this pen. When I picked it up a couple of years ago, actually, I was just instantly drawn towards the beauty of the right shade of blue combined with that bronze trim, and it drew me right in. I want one of these in my collection. It's a daily driver. It's a workhorse for me, and so I ended up picking another one up. This is the TWSBI Indigo Bronze in a medium nib. It's probably the only TWSBI Eco in a medium nib that I have in my collection. I either have an extra fine or a fine or broad, but I decided to try the medium, and I have to say that the medium just works really well for me. Really enjoying this in my stationery toolkit as well. Oh, I suppose I should show you the custom 823. So here is the custom 743 in a black. This is in a medium nib. And here's the custom 823 in amber in a medium nib as well. Two of my favorite pen acquisitions from the year. They are both workhorses. I love them so much, and I really enjoy them. And the last one, which this may be a bit of a surprise to some of the viewers of this channel here, is not a fountain pen. This is a Jetstream from Uniball, and it is a ballpoint pen. I've talked about my lament of ballpoint pens, but this one is a really good ballpoint pen. So you might be sitting there wondering, Frank, why are you talking about a ballpoint pen? And I didn't know you were interested in these. I am. When I was on my journey of trying to figure out how I could mimic the fountain pen experience without actually having a fountain pen, I was gravitating towards not roller balls, ballpoint pens that fit within my budget, but very fine ballpoint pens. One of the things that I've been really proud about in terms of my analog lifestyle this year, which is a goal I suppose I set maybe 3 years ago, has been the uptick in my reading. I am reading so many more books now, in particular nonfiction, and areas of interest for me that I have been wanting to explore for some time. Doing a lot of that and having multiple books on the go, I did decide to annotate my books. And fountain pens in general on cheap paper, which is what most books are printed on, don't play well. The fountain pen ink feathers, it bleeds through, and sometimes if you're not too careful, that bleed through turns into a complete absorption through the paper, as I've learned the hard way. And I've been using extensively extra fine and fine nibs and the fountain pens when I was trying to annotate or play around with the margins in my books. Regardless, I ended up switching away from that and researching the internet for what would be a really good pen to annotate the books that I've been reading. And consistently, one of the pen recommendations that came up was a Jetstream Uniball Jetstream. This is in the 0.7 size. They only had one size at Reed Stationers here in Calgary, but it's perfect in terms of just how fine I have been using it, or the line width that I've been using it for. I don't know if you can see that really clearly here, but we could take a top-down look as well. You can see that the Uniball Jetstream here does a great job of just not being too thick and being the right line width, I think, in terms of standing out on the page there. So been enjoying a lot of reading, and this is, I suppose, some of my pen acquisitions between the Benu Talisman, the Twisby Eco, the Ball Jetstream, which I just talked about, and the two customs, and last but not least, my Lamy, which I suppose I should pull out here as well. So these have been my pen acquisitions throughout the year. Very much from the perspective of beauty in terms of why I have been acquiring them. So the aesthetic appeal for sure. And also just in the functionality. Anytime I write with any of these pens, I just absolutely enjoy it. It's a pleasure to write with. It makes me want to write with them more, which I do. But also just the fact that, using some of these high-end instruments, it feels like I am intentionally going through the analog exercise in the moment. So whether that's annotating my book, whether that's writing quick notes in my traveler's notebook, or whether that's actually just long form journaling and exploring, these pens make me want to do so much more of that. So sometimes, at least in my case, I suppose, buying a more expensive instrument for the task at hand certainly encourages me to do more of that activity. And so I've been really proud of myself really shifting into the analog lifestyle focus this year. It's been absolutely wonderful from that perspective of really in the chaotic slog fest that I was mentioning in terms of the last couple of months, intentionally on the go or at home using these writing instruments and working with the stationery notebooks and tools that I have to sort through those kinds of things. So I've been really enjoying that. Now, when it comes to other stationery acquisitions this year, I've been blessed to have some products sent my way to review and take a look at. And effectively, I have enjoyed every single product that's been sent my way, and I've fallen in love with it, and it has been integrated into my stationery tool kit. One of the things that I have been honored to receive this year has been the Popov leather notebook cover. I don't have a notebook in here only because I just finished my A5 in this and I'm about to replace it, but I'm waiting until Christmas Day to do that as part of my analog stationery revamp and reset up. But it's a gorgeous leather notebook cover. I'm not trying to sell this to you, but if you are interested in picking up one of these, feel free to use the affiliate links down below for this and a couple of other products that I'm about to show you, which will give you a discount. In this case particular, I think it's 20% off your first purchase from Popov Leather. They do lots of other products. Now I feel like I'm plugging it, which there you go. But I've been generally happy with Popov Leather, this Popov Leather notebook. Not generally, I would say I've been very happy with it. Just absolutely love the gorgeous color, the functionality of it, and just how well it plays in my stationery toolkit. This one stays at home all the time. This hasn't gotten as much exposure to the elements in my toolkit, but I love seeing this on my desk. So there's the Popov Leather. The other one that's been really great to integrate into my toolkit this year, and I've been blessed to receive, has been from Lockbee. This is the A5 journal, or the field journal, and I have been loving this. It's been my workhorse daily driver on the go, I would say. Stays in my backpack, stays in my bag at all times, and I have got currently 4 notebooks in this. Whoops, just a couple things that dropped out there. 4 notebooks in this that I've been really, really enjoying filling out at all times. So this has been absolutely amazing in terms of just functionality. I received this halfway through the year and it's been 6 months now. It's got a few water stains and things like that, but it's held up really well. And I've been really enjoying this in terms of having an A5 format on the go. If you're interested in picking this guy up, again, use the affiliate link in the description below just to get yourself a little bit of an extra discount. My favorite acquisitions this year, which does not have an affiliate link, I apologize in advance, has been my Traveler's Notebook from Traveler's Company in an olive colorway. I have enjoyed this thing. I picked it up again halfway through the year, and it has been my daily driver, my workhorse, my baby in so many ways because it's effectively my brain on paper. It's got my planner, it's got my catch-all notebooks, I would say right now, and it's been really functional. It's also got my cards, and it's become sort of my gigantic sized wallet in terms of my everyday carry. So this one's been really, really great from the perspective of just how much use it has gotten. And I just recently did a video about the patina that's been developing here, and how quickly it has developed a nice smooth patina to it. Love the olive colorway. I love it with the orange elastic here, and can't say enough good things about it, I suppose, as you would know if you watch my channel. I love the Traveler's Notebook. Other acquisitions here has been the Lockbee pen pouch, or the Quattro pouch. I love this guy because it has brought so much functionality into my everyday carry of fountain pens, and right now it's stuffed with pens here. It opens up like so, and here are my 4 fountain pens that I currently use, that I've got currently inked up. The Edison Beaumont, the Esterbrook here, the Violet Custom 743, and last but not least, the Bainey Talisman Tiger's Eye. On the front here, I've got the Navalur, I should say, Navalur Bronze Coriodoris pen, the TWSBI Indigo Bronze pen, and then my Jetstream Uniball, as well as a yellow highlighter. I use that quite a bit when it comes to annotating and marking up the books that I'm reading. So this one's been a fantastic addition to my stationery toolkit. So those are my favorite stationery acquisitions this year between the writing instruments and the notebooks. One of the things that I'm very excited to be using but haven't started yet, it's been a very recent purchase, and this is going to go inside my Traveler's Notebook. This is the Kunisawa Fine Flex Note. This is a larger, thicker notebook here, or refill or insert that I want to put into my Traveler's Notebook for 2025. Probably the end of 2024 within the next week, just because I'm running out of paper very quickly in my Traveler's Notebook. So this one's more of a preview spoiler, but I can tell that this is going to be one of my favorite notebooks heading into 2025. So when it comes to stationery acquisitions, I would say there's been a lot and not a lot, but some very, very powerful acquisitions that I've been very, very fortunate and blessed to be able to have them. And just the fact that they have become so powerful in my stationery toolkit. As I'm talking through this right now, one of the things that you may have noticed if you've been watching my channel is that the pens are different on my Traveler's Notebook here. Typically, I have a Kaweco Brass Sport with me and a Pilot Vanishing Point, which is one of my favorite daily driver pens. Both of those are the bronze Kaweco, the brass Kaweco, and the black Vanishing Point here. I ended up using the Vanishing Point, or moving the Vanishing Point over to the Field Journal. I'll explain why in a second, or maybe later on in this video. And then the bronze, I keep saying bronze, it looks bronze. The brass Sport here, the Kaweco Brass Sport, stays in my pocket at all times, so it's truly become a pocket pen as opposed to residing on my Traveler's Notebook. The 2 pens I've replaced them with has been the Lamy 2000 in a fine nib and my Pilot Custom 823 in a medium nib here. I get more use out of these pens sitting on the Traveler's Notebook. They're gorgeous pens. I love them, but I want them to be used a bit more in my collection. So I'm trying out having these 2 pens on my Traveler's Notebook, and so far I'm absolutely loving them. This is the Superior Labor Brass Clip. Wonder Pens in Toronto just recently had them. I think they're sold out again. If you want one, I keep getting asked this question, that's why I'm talking about it. If you want one, go to wonderpens.ca, search for the Superior Labor 2 pen holder clip. I think it's that verbiage. You'll be able to find it. and sign yourself up for a notification there. When they do come, they sell out fast. This one here is in the natural color. So when I first got it, it was undyed, or not, yes, undyed, and looked almost pink pale, but just with natural usage and the oils from daily usage, it's turned into this beautiful camel-like color, which I've been really enjoying. So there you go. That's been my stationery acquisitions of 2024 with the spoiler, I suppose, of heading into 2025. I've talked about my planner setup and my traveler's notebook acquisitions or haul for the 2025 planners. So I'll be doing that in a future video. But one of the other things that has been really good from an acquisition perspective has been the Inkvent calendar. This guy has been a lot of fun. I'm on day 20 here. I did this a couple years ago, then I took a break, and then I wanted to do it again. And I've just been really enjoying playing around with the Inkvent inks. I've got shorts up on my channel. If you're curious about any of these inks, feel free to take a look. And I will probably jump over to the desk now and spend a little bit of time talking about the inks from the Inkvent calendar so far and what I've been enjoying, which ones have been my favorite, and perhaps what I will be inking up in the future. The Inkvent calendar 2024 has been a lot of fun. And as I said, I'm on day 20 now. And I've been doing daily shorts here, just recording, opening the ink bottles and doing a bit of a quick writing sample. And I'm looking forward to finishing off the last 5 days. But I thought for the video here that I would just show you what each of these inks look like really quickly and which ones are my favorite and which ones I've been gravitating towards and contemplating filling up for the rest of winter, I suppose, with respect to my pens. So first up here is a strong start, in my opinion. This is Baltic Breeze, day 1. And I love it. It's a beautiful kind of dusky blue. And as you can see in the video here, just kind of a pink shimmer to it. And I am going to definitely ink this up, probably in my Indigo Bronze TWSBI Eco pen here. I'm a big fan of blue inks in general, but this one I think really hits the spot. So that's a winner in my opinion. Now, day 2 was Wilted Rose. When I opened this is a standard ink, by the way, so no shimmer or any other characteristics here. When I first opened this and inked it up, I was a bit disappointed with it. I just thought it was kind of a blasé color, but it's really grown on me. It's got a really beautiful characteristic of this kind of pink brown, dusky pink brown. And I wasn't convinced with it at first, but as I said, it's really grown on me, and I really like the shadowing characteristics of the ink. So I might have to ink this one up as well. Now moving on to day 3, this is Noble Fur. Wasn't quite the green I was expecting based on the name of the ink, Fur. According to Diamine's naming convention, this is called a Star Bright. And holy moly, this was full of shimmer. It's got a silver shimmer in it, and it clogged up my pen right away. Ton of shimmer compared to the ink ratio. I like it though, and it kind of lives up to the naming convention of Star Bright. It has a ton of shimmer showing up, as you can tell in the lighting here. The green I just thought would be a little bit more green. It's more green. When I say more green, a darker, richer green, kind of like a fir tree. I'd say it's kind of like a subtle green, or not a subtle green, but more of a minty green, something like that. Just wasn't what I was expecting based on the name, but I really like it. I don't think I'll be inking it up though, just based on the amount of shimmer that is that gets stuck in the pen here. I don't have a dip pen that will work. I'll probably have to get a glass dip pen or a Kakamori nib or something like that. Moving on, this is Forest Gâteau, day 4. A beautiful, rich purple. I really like this one. I think it's just got a nice red, burgundy, maroon purple blend, which I think is quite lovely. And I think I will be definitely inking this up in a pen. Day 5, one of my favorites. This is Icy Lilac. This is a shimmer ink. And let's just try and take a closer look. It's a dusky lavender, I would say. Hints of blue, gray, a little bit of purple all mixed together. And the shimmer is subtle in this, which I really like. It's got a silver shimmer to it. Maybe hard to see. Oh, there you go. So this is one of my favorite inks from the Diamine Inkvent calendar. This is Cranberry. It's a standard ink again. Standard just being no characteristics, although I found that really confusing in this ink because it has a ton of sheen to it. Like almost a yellow sheen, yellow gold sheen. So I was very surprised on that. It's got, when you write with it, it's just got a standard purple red color to it, but very quickly it settles into this golden sheen here that develops. So I would say I was surprised that it would be called a standard from Diamine. Not my favorite though. I wasn't really sold on it. It's nice ink, but nothing special. And look, I just accidentally spilled some water on it. Whoops. This is Lemon and Lime. I'm not a big lemon lime fan, I have to say. It's a chameleon ink. I'm not sure what was very chameleon about it. It's like there's really no characteristics, at least on the swatch that I did here. When I started writing with it, it kind of wrote as a green, but very quickly settled into this yellow. So maybe that's the chameleon aspect. Not my favorite color, I must say. Interesting. Not my favorite color. Moving on to day 8. This is Morley Standard. It's kind of a dusky blue-gray ink. In my humble opinion, nothing to write home about. It's all right. Found the ink in this ink in particular a little bit drier on the drier side, so I was surprised by that. Day number 9 is Chameleon. This one was an interesting ink. It wrote green but dried gray. So I suppose that is the chameleon nature or aspect to this. And it had like a tiny bit of shimmer, hard to see here. Kind of like almost a subtle red pink shimmer to it. Beautiful ink, but not one that I'm going to be inking up in a pen. Love this one. This is Chilly Night. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of blue inks in general, obviously. But I love this because this is, again, a star bright combination. Less shimmer than the Noble Fur that I showed earlier, but still a ton of shimmer. Let's just try and show you the angles here. You can see that there is a lot of shimmer behind this ink. It wrote really well, though. I love the fact that it was a very wet ink. Started off with a dark blue and settled into kind of a subtler dark blue with hints of indigo and purple and a beautiful amount of shimmer. I'll be definitely inking this up for the rest of winter. Day 11. This one was interesting. This is Diamine's Grotto Extreme Sheen. And I was curious what was the extreme sheen part of it, because it wrote very orange. And as you can see, if I tilt it this way, looks like an orange red, nothing to write home about. But if I start turning it this way, you'll notice that it's got tons of green and yellow characteristics that show up. So I love that. I love this extreme sheen aspect to it. Sheening inks are one of my favorite types of inks. Shimmers are great, but I'm hesitant to put them in any of my fancier pens. I like them in my TWSBIs generally, but sheens I have no problems with. So I love this ink. Moving on to Snow Globe, another chameleon ink. Blue, I like a blue. No surprise there. But this one wasn't my favorite in terms of the blue offerings so far. Nice hints of purple, a little bit of silver shimmer to it, but nothing special in my opinion. Day 13 was Lullaby. Not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of dusky pink purples, even though previously I was saying that I was enjoying the wilted rose. But as I said with the wilted rose, it took me a moment for it to grow. This one did not grow on me at all. I'm not a fan of it. It's all right. I'm sure a lot of other people like it. Love this one. This is Mint Tea. This is a chameleon ink. It started off green, like a really rich green, and then settled into this cool teal, light teal, blue, almost turquoise green with a hint of silver shimmer. Maybe even kind of like a light green shimmer. Anyhow, I love it. This one's one of my favorite inks from this year's Inkvent, and I will be inking this one up in a pen. Here's another extreme sheen. This is day 15. This is Sleigh Ride. So again, extreme sheen started off very red, nothing crazy there. But if I tilt the page, you'll see the crazy amount of green that shows up. Green, yellow. I love it. I'm a big fan of extreme sheen inks or sheening inks in general, but I really like the characteristics that show up in here. I think it's a very cool combination of that dark red with this very light yellow green. Day 16, Tundra, standard gray, brown, nothing to write home about in my opinion. Winterberry, one of my favorite reds, if not so far my favorite red in the Inkvent calendar. So the chameleon ink, it's got red, pink, gold glitter, somewhere in that range. Glitter, shimmer, sorry. But the shimmer's subtle, which I really like about this ink. I love the color of the red, which is kind of a rich pink berry color, pink-red berry color. And depending on the lighting, you may or may not be able to see the subtle hint of the shimmer show up in this. I like it quite a bit, and I will be inking that one up as well. I'm running out of pens to ink up everything in. Vibe, sheening ink, one of my favorites. Can't lie. I was curious at first because it looked like a very strong teal ink, if I tilt it that way. First a blue, teal, turquoise ink, and the sheen didn't show up right away. It took a while to dry, but when it did, holy moly, so much red sheen. You can see why they call it extreme sheening ink. I love it. And I'll be inking that one up as well. Fruit Cocktail. This is a scented ink. I'm not a big scented ink fan. I just find that they smell very chemically. This one did have a, I guess, fruity smell, but it also smelled like a chewing gum. So I wasn't a fan of the scented aspect of it. But I like the orange, the subtle kind of light orange here. It's fun, it's playful, but I'm not convinced I'm going to be inking that one up. And then day 20, this is Potpourri, a dusky gray, purple, lavender, not lavender. I'd say just kind of like a blend between a gray and a purple ink. Not my favorite. It's a standard ink, but nothing I would write home about. So there you have it. This is the Inkvent calendar so far of 2024. And I'm going to go ahead and open up 21 tomorrow. So I mentioned I've been reading like crazy. I inevitably get asked, what kind of things do I read? And I would say recently, it's been a lot about stoicism, and particularly an author, Ryan Holiday. You may or may not have heard of him. He's famous for being a modern day philosopher, but really focusing in on stoicism. So the great philosophers of old, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and those individuals here, particularly looking at the Stoic philosophy. I've been really enjoying this. This philosophy resonates with me quite a bit, and my spiritual overlay, I would say, in terms of Buddhism. And I've been really enjoying these books. I read them on a daily basis. One of the books I reviewed a few months ago or talked about is The Daily Dad by Ryan Holiday, and it's again very much centered on Stoicism. The other book I've got here is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I keep coming back to this book because it has been very, very useful, and I've got lots of annotations in here, and the fact that I keep coming back and marking things up has been good. And looking at my old markups just to remember things, I've been finding this as very, very useful. Right in time for Christmas, for those of you who are not in Canada, and maybe if you are in Canada, there's a gentleman who is no longer with us. His name is Stuart McLean. He was from Toronto, if I remember correctly. Anyhow, he passed a few years ago. He would host a show on CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Company, but our radio, effectively, one of the radio channels, not the only radio channel. And he had a show called The Vinyl Cafe, and this is the book called Christmas at the Vinyl Cafe, which is a curated selection of his Christmas stories. What Stuart was famous for was narrating. He was an amazing orator in terms of talking about the story and then reading through the story, and just how he made these characters come alive. In particular, this one family, Dave and his wife Molly with their kids, and the funny things that Dave gets himself into and how his family relates to some of the things that he gets up to. Wonderful book if you're interested in picking that up. And last but not least, in my current reading selection is A Little History of Archaeology by Brian Fagan. And I love archaeology. I have been playing Indiana Jones right now. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, that's been released. If you've been watching the channel, I love Indiana Jones, and I've talked about that. In fact, one of my favorite everyday carry bags is this Mimic Mark II bag. This is the same bag that Indiana Jones, or Harrison Ford, as the actor who plays Indiana Jones, carries in the movies. And this is a daily driver for me. Anyhow, love archaeology, love history, and this is a really nice summation of how archaeology started and has found its footing into what it is today, all the way from the swashbuckling era of, well, not Indiana Jones, because that's not quite accurate, but some of the things that were going on before his time in the early 20s, even the late 1800s, all the way through to today. So what are some of the upcoming videos that I have planned? Well, I'm going to do a bit more of an in-depth review on the Pilot custom pens that I have. I'm going to talk about the stationery gifts that I'm expecting from Christmas. There's quite a few things in there that I'm very excited about. But also in particular in there is getting my Traveler's Notebook planner set up for 2025. And also probably a video on my stationery toolkit or system overhaul. One of the things that I have been experimenting or toying with the idea of has been very much around the concept of what my catch-all is doing, and if it's too much, if it's become too much. If you've watched any of my previous videos, I talk about how the catch-all notebook for me, which resides in my Traveler's Notebook, is meant to encompass everything from quotes to my ideas to upcoming plans and brainstorming, and it has become a little bit cumbersome. I think also with the idea, or also with the activity of increased reading, I'm finding I'm writing quite a bit more down, right? So, which is great, but the notebook has become a little bit too encompassing. And so I've decided to start splitting things off from the notebook, and there's enough in the catch-all that it's become effectively or it has components of commonplace notebooks, which I haven't really experimented with, and I have just started. So I'll be doing a video on my commonplace notebooks. Notice the S there, I've got more than one commonplace notebook set up. And I'll be doing all my commonplace notebooks in my Lockbee field journal here. And I can show you right off the bat that I've got a few notebooks ready to go, or have already been started in terms of the commonplace notebook system that I have in mind. So I'll be doing a video on that, as I said, and then my 2025 vision board. I've talked about my vision board in past videos and past years. What I'm going to perhaps do at the tail end of December is record a video on how I walk through my process of coming up with a vision board, which is effectively for me a sheet of paper that sits on my wall that has my entire strategy and plan for the upcoming year in mind. One of the things that I've also been really toying with and experimenting with is this idea of what stationery and for really means to me. It's not just stationary items. I've talked a lot about my thought process, my analog lifestyle, and how I'm trying to build on that journey. And for me right now, what I'm thinking about is broadening the scopes of topic in terms of stationery, right? How are these stationery tools, instruments, and toolkits influencing how I am approaching my day to day life and my routines and structures and what I am doing in there? So, uh, probably be doing a few more videos that are a little bit more tangential to stationery itself. Thanks very much for joining me. It's been a while, as I mentioned, since I've done one of these updates, and I have had a few of you ask if I'm all right and if everything has been okay on my end, and you've even missed some of these videos. So I hope that this kind of checks the box off in lieu of some of the craziness that's happened the last couple months and easing into the holidays. Wherever you are, happy holidays. I hope you get to enjoy a break or a little bit of a break, on a longer break. And I look forward to catching up with you in the near future. Take care. Bye for now.